Hey family, I'm just making another live again. Just want to talk about some stuff that I don't really talk. Well, I'm just trying a thing and see like how it goes on the platform. I just want to share uh concept, right? Right. You know, um, I told you earlier multiple times I'm Catholic and stuff like that. So I'm as you notice the name of the live called El Christos, and it has some big significance why people who see it might get it, might think they get it, and that's why I come to explain now, you know, about the Christos, cause people think like these books, right? It's always historical books like Bible, Torah, Quran, um, what else there is? All of them, they're talking about, you know, it does have something to do with historical events in certain regions and stuff like that, but it's not to be taken literally, right? And it was certain things, he was warned, Jesus warned you, right? He said he talks with dark saints, right? So he warns you to not take everything what he said for surface value, like superficially, right? So he himself is of man and God. He's the son of man and he's the son of God, right? This goes back to like the beginning, right? 6 days it took God to make earth. It have to do with two threes, and on the seventh day he rest, right? Two, three, four, right? So yeah, is it all you have to understand patterns that our ancestors really understood patterns and took the audacity to label patterns and patterns they see. And what the Bible is talking about is not really what is it trying to invoke in people so their eyes can open, right? Is not to the literal sense of things, right? It's not in your flesh, not dealing with the flesh, right? But the flesh is part of it, right? Because it's all one, right? Spirit, body is all parallel to each other. Spirit, body, mind. Three, three. It comes down to frequency, energy, and vibration. Three again, right? Threes. Notice the big thing comes back down to three. And then three, you take a one away, you have two. And when you make the two one, that's creation, right? So I'm going to get it going to be explained, but it's all esoteric. So it's not meant for everybody to understand, right? Because when I'm talking, right, it has to resonate with you, right? So you have to be on that vibrational frequency to accept the information that I'm saying, right? Then there is other ways around it. You just pay attention, right? Pay attention. You see me? The eyes are the windows to the soul, right? So if if you understand that, all you have to do is pay attention, just observe, take something there to certain patterns, right? There's a pattern to everything. You see me? Comes in threes, right? So nobody think what the Bible is talking about Jesus as the man, and that was true. Adam, beginning, right? Um, but with the all right, now I'm seated now. So now, Christos, right? Is basically the excretion from the colostrum, Santa Claus, Saint Claus, Claus, Claus. The colostrum is now a region in your brain, right? It's called the seat of God, right? They say it's God sit there, right? This is where the pineal gland, right, is located right at the temple, right above your ears, and then you have the pituitary gland that's right under it, right, right back there, right here, right between the bridges of your nose, where you say if you were to cut your nose off and that opening, that's where your pituitary gland is. But your pineal gland, right, is looking downwards, is actually an eye. It has a sclera, it shapes like a pine cone, and it secretes melatonin. Melatonin regulates your um, archaic rhythm, right? This is your sleep pattern, right? It tells you when you need to go to sleep, right? And you release oxytocin, you release all sorts of I can't if I I'm not really I don't really have any expertise in biology. I just understand the language, right? So I could go on to express all but it's not what I came to do. This is why these doctors, they can't tell you the truth. God, they don't really understand the language that they're talking, right? Because they want to believe your beliefs that there is no existence of spirit, right? When the language that they even explain this, because all right, humans produce every living creature and even non-living creature produce an a bioelectric field, right? That it can be affected by certain frequencies, vibrations, and energy, right? Like for instance, you go around a miserable person, right? Somebody who's miserable. You can detect it. And you ever wonder why, right? You ever wonder why? How are you able to differentiate and you're not, how can you tell? But that's due to the parasympathetic nervous system. Notice the word sympathetic. Sympathy. is a natural innate thing humans do, right? Is a part of how we learn, right? So there is impossible for anybody to be incapable of learning, but you do have foolish people, right? These are people who are not in tune with themselves because they're looking outside to fill the void. And the void, you can't fill anything, use anything physical to fill the void on the inside because it's abstract. How you going to put this furniture inside you to fill that void, right? So a lot of people probably know about Kundalini energy and all them stuff there. And, I do understand these things. But, I'm not go deep into other people cultures and religion like that, right? So, you have the reptilian brain, you have the mammalian brain, you have four brains. You have more than four brains, right? But this up here, so everything up here, so is heaven. Your head is the heaven. When God told Moses, is it Moses? Yeah, Moses to create the covenant with the ark of covenant, right? And he told him to have two cherubims. When you translate cherubims translate to serpent, right? Oh, yes, how could I explain this? Cherubim, cerebellum. They're talking about the two hemispheres of your brain, and right between the middle of your brain is the colostrum. That's the seat of God. That's why God told Moses to make this all about physiology, right? So when they're talking about Jesus returning, Christos returning, Christos is a big secret, and Jesus told you that he is a big secret, because he's not. You can't find the kingdom of God without looking out. The kingdom of God is within, right? So the kingdom of God is within yourself. It's simple, plain as that. But people not really understand what that means. Because it's esoteric, right? You have to understand. First, you have to understand and accept the fact that you have a spirit, right? And then you have to acknowledge your own existence and position and circumstance in life, all right? And accept the fact that, you're responsible. You're responsible. You're responsible. You're responsible, right? So, with Christ returning, Christ is not some man. Well, I'm not sure of that. I'm not really sure of any man, you know, returning, right? But nobody can save you. Nobody can save you but yourself, right? So, Christos, Christ, Jesus, Horus, Vishnu, Krishna, Muhammad, um, Where else? Who else? You could have said Eros, Cupid, um, Atlas. No, not Atlas. Did you say Nimrod? No, I don't know. I said Nimrod. People not gonna get that one. Well, what I'm trying to say, he's within all of them. He's within. They're the Christos. They're the Christos, and they're within. It starts from the colostrum. Mary and Joseph is actually the pineal gland. Pineal gland, the mother. The pituitary gland, the father. Right, the pituitary gland, I don't really familiar with what it regulates. I think it regulates like emotions and stuff like that, right? It secretes hormones to regulate, like, what you're feeling and stuff like that, right? And it has some other functions too, right? Then your mother, pineal gland connect with clairvoyance, and clairvoyance meaning things seem clear. Voyance, like voyage, right? Your journey that you're taking, right? You can see clearly, right? Your third eye, because your third eye is able to detect infrared rays, infrared rays, right? Doctors won't tell you this, right? So as soon as you turn off the light, and or there's absence, your body can detect the position of the sun in the sky, right? It tells when you sleep, when you need to sleep, right? So with the colostrum, with the secretion and secret, because Christ is a secret, because he's within, you can't see him, right? He's like a spirit. He told you he's like a thief. He's going to come like a thief in the night, which is true. You're not going to be conscious of it when him come, but he's going to be there, right? And you're going to be as experience, right? And you're going to be fully awake, right? I hear a lot of people say they woke and they don't even understand the meaning of being woke. That means, say, you sacrifice yourself. You went through the crucifixion. You cross over Hebrew, right? So it all comes back down to like I know Santa Claus now. Santa Claus is pertaining to like your spinal cord, and Santa Claus climbs down the chimney, right, to leave presents, right. It's symbolic to the Vedic system, right? The Hindu Vedic system with the chakra. So you notice at the bottom of the chimney, right? At the bottom of the chimney, there's fire, right? Cause that the lower part, which is your primal or animal instinctive based part of you, with sex, reproduction and stuff like that. That's like your lower self, right? Lower self, right? But what I'm going to explain, there's the seed. There's a seed. The seed starts from here. God supplant the seed here. And that's the seed is Christ. Christ is the seed, right? The thalamus, when they talk about Eve, notice that the two hemisphere, you have a masculine side and you have a feminine side. You have a masculine brain, you have a male brain and a female brain, right? And one is to process, one is for ration, logic, the other one is to process emotion and, stuff like that. So when you have, when you come to understand these things, and you listen, you read these stories, right? Say Eve was tricked by the serpent. You have the reptilian brain, right? And then you have the thalamus. The thalamus is called the tree of life, the tree of good and evil, right? So this is where your basic instinctive, cause your thalamus regulates like your stomach, right? Everything below your stomach. So when certain foods you eat, certain practices, rituals that you do every day, right? All right, you know, the rights you take, right? That affects the seed from germinating, from blossom. So that's why in the Hindu, and this is also, if you're Rastafarian or Catholic, you know, although Christians like to deny this, but the Christians have been always been the rebels, right? They always been the rebels, right? They always been the Hebrew, the rebels. They always been the lower class people who they're in their lower self, they dwell in their lower self, and they cause chaos. They're like the demons, right? Like hell, right? Cause they dwell in the lower state, right? And they misinterpreted the message of God. And that's why cause they focus on only flesh, the superficial. So they misinterpret these things. So when like God said, um, 1/10 of tithes should go to the Lord, you know, they take it in the literal. The pastors, they're shepherds, right? And what shepherds do? Shepherds um groom sheep and stuff like that. What them do? They also turn sheep. They use sheep for clothing, right? They use the wool, and they also slaughter sheep. Sheep is also a delicacy, right? So y'all for profit. This is why they say they're prophets. Profit. They profit for profit, right? But in the sense of that, it's not to give no pastor no money. It's to give back to the seed, so it can blossom, right? So what the seed does, if you understand, ever heard of Kundalini energy and stuff like that, right? Not really energy is a is a secretion of a sacrum, a oil substance that's released in the colostrum, and it travels down the spine, right? Like, remember the story where they said Jesus had went into hell. Jesus is the only. Oh, Hermes too. Hermes. I forget Hermes. Hermes. Tres. Hermes Maugustus. Right? 3 times great. Right? Jesus, Hermes, and who else? Kratos. God of war are the only, there's more. I believe there's also more. We're the only ones to be able to travel from hell and escape hell. Travel to hell and escape hell, right? And when Jesus was down here, when Jesus was in hell, he saved, I think, 1,000 souls, right? And returned, brought them into heaven. Heaven is pertaining to the dome, your cranium, right? The dome that was mentioned in the Bible, where God separated the light from the darkness. They say the light is the thalamus, right? The tree of life, right? But that's Lucifer also. That's also Lucifer, but you have to understand Lucifer is not necessarily evil, but he is deceitful, right? He's not necessarily evil, but he is deceitful, right? Not the Satan or what these evil forces, these people dealing with, right? What that have not for do. What we are talking about now, Satan dealing with Chronos, and Chronos is the god of time. And his thing was to stay in power, and how he kept staying in power is by killing off the next generation, right? Because he felt like he felt threatened that he would lose his power, right? So he killed all his children, he ate his children, he devoured his children, he devoured his sons and daughters, right? And he was his mother, right? His wife had saved Zeus by pretending, giving him, when she was giving Kronos, because Kronos was a titan. Those are the old gods, right? She gave him a rock to eat and had wrapped the rock as if was Zeus as the baby, and Zeus had grown up and slayed his father, right? His mother sent him away, and I believe she sent him away, and he grew up and came back and slayed his father. That's why this have to deal with Saturn. Saturn was the first sun. Saturn is a gaseous planet, right? You notice it has a orbit, it has a whole belt around it, because it was more magnificent than what it is now. It is a dead star, right? Back to the colostrum now, where the secretion of the oil, it travels down the spine, right? Like while talking from the scripture with Jesus, after he was crucified, he went to hell and saved 100 souls, right? So now this oil travels down the spine if it's germinated, and there's certain things, you have processes that you have to go through in life for it to be germinated, right? For it to sprout, right? And the oil is released and it travels down your spine. Then it it travels back up, but it's harder to travel back up than it is to travel back down. And then you stay in your lower self, right? You have to raise your frequency. You have to raise your frequency, your energy to help. This is for help it return, help the son return, help Christos return, right, to its mother and father, which is Mary and Joseph, right? That's the pineal gland and the what you call it, the pituitary gland, right? So this has everything. This is what the Hindus them call Kundalini energy, right? It's really physiology though, right? It's actual physical things, but it's something that's being is not it's being hidden, right? It's being hidden. It's the hidden one, right? Um Now for explain the serpent and how serpent told Eve. Cause Eve is your left hemisphere, your brain, right? That's dealing with emotions. And you know, women are very emotional creatures. So right, they're very vulnerable creatures. They're very submissive creatures. So when the serpent, that is the reptilian brain, that's the cerebellum, the cerebium, right? That deal with instinctive based things like breathing, your heart pumping blood throughout your body and stuff like that, right? It stores the program, but your heart is itself its own brain. It don't need to really communicate with the brain itself. It's why you can forget that. But it is you have multiple brains. Your intestines, your whole gastric system is its own brain. Your stomach regulate your body temperature, right? So that's why they call where the stomach is the solar plex. It's the sun because it generates the heat. It generates the heat in your body, and your spinal cord is like a thermometer. And this liquid, this secretion called, the Christos, right? It's like mercury. So yeah, it's just amazing how everything is connected. It's just amazing how everything's connected when you really look on it. You know, everything is connected, you know. So below, so above, right? So this is your sun, right? This is your sun. This is your eternal sun. Then you have the heart chakra. The heart generates the largest field because it's pumping blood in a spiral, which generates a larger electromagnetic field than every other organ, right? Every other organ, because how it generates pumping energy throughout you, pumping blood throughout your whole entire body to come straight back to the heart, right? It carries oxygen. Each blood cells carries oxygen to cells around your whole entire body, right? Um, But this come back to I've explained about um the G in the Masonic symbol with the compass is stands for actually generate, because it's the generative principle. It deals with interest or just caring about what you care about, what you pay attention. This is why I keep on saying it's what you pay attention to. So this is why you have to be very mindful of your patterns, right? But at the end of the day, I'm not going to act like I'm perfect. We're all human sometimes, I'm not saying like all the time. Since I went through this, I was under control and stuff like that. You know, I feel like God, God is protecting me, and that's dealing with the Christos from that, from it's germinated, right? Your flesh, your flesh can never die, and especially when it's return, when the sun returns, like the sun when it come back every day, your life start back over again. And that's what it does when it reach back, when it able to go all the way up the 33rd degree, 33rd degree, right? You have 33 um spinal, what you call it again? Spinal columns. You have 33 spinal columns going straight up, right? And once it cross over and reach to the midbrain, it's crucified, right? It's in a state of juxtaposition, right? Like an electron, it's between life and death, right? Right? And this regenerates your whole entire body. This is why in biblical days, way back in the ancient days, it seems like people was living longer than people now, because they understood they very well understood these concepts in a esoteric way, where they understood the spirit, right? And this knowledge had been lost now due to, you know, certain events happening that cause it to be like the Dark Ages, medieval times, and stuff like that. So, the conquest of Europe became the sword. God made Europe the sword. And, you know, what Jesus said, he's not coming as a Messiah. He's not coming, how it go again? Him coming for be a sword. Him coming for shake up everything. Him coming for be the earth shaker. Right? Him coming to put man against woman. Him coming for, and what you see today, mother against daughter, father against son. You see what you're seeing today. Right? So everything that was in the darkness is coming to light. That's what you were saying. What was hidden shall be, that the truth. We're in the age of Aquarius. This is the age of knowledge, right? Jesus came from the age of Pisces, the age of the Piscean age, dealing with the two fishes, yin and yang, come back to the two hemisphere of your brain, right? You have the one side, which is the yin, and the other side is the yang, the masculine force, the feminine force, right? But this is the thing. The two of them think, we today act as if the two things are separate, so they are constantly in conflict with each other, right? But what they need to realize is that they're one, right? And they're dancing is a game they're playing that's supposed to be. So you have to make the crossover, you have to make a change, because the first law of conservation of energy cannot be destroyed or created, only transformed, right? So all of these will mix up your whole entire spirit and soul, because the spirit and soul one in the same thing, right? But not at the same time. But um, is the programs, stuff that you, when you growing up, and I'm going to get back to Lucifer. Lucifer is really your inner child crying out, and because of how much um, built up anger, grief, you know, the inner child is in distress, he's uncomfortable, he need love, so it becomes this big giant monster. That's why the enemy is within, where you don't, today, modern day people don't really cater to the inner child, right, in a healthy way, right? And children tend to be like, you notice certain patterns of people start noticing certain your own patterns that, you know, you come to find out, say you're not very mature person, you know, you can't handle stress properly, you know, you're adult, you know, been in stressful situations for, like, you know, very long time, or unless you're the only person who never been like your type of people who never been in stressful, had been misfortunate, or forecast, you never learn. No learning, no learning experience had taken place, right, for you to grow, right? And this is why it comes back to where God said, give me 10 tithes. Give me 1/10 of your tithes. Give me 1/10 of your attention, being mindful. God is within, God is not outside. The heaven is your dome. The brain, God takes seat in the thalamus, right? Your third eye, your third eye is up, like your pineal gland looks down, and it renders the activities that goes on in your body, right? Always looking down on you. God is always looking down on you, right? He's always looking down. You get me? I hope people get me, right? With the third eye, he's always looking down on you. You see me? So everything start with love. And love start from where? The heart. The heart. The heart is, that's why they say, love conquers all, right? Love conquers all, but you have to move with discernment, right? Some people you can carry a camel to the water, but it won't drink. You see me? So certain things you don't judge people. You just have to accept them for the way they are. You know, Just whatever it just is what it is. You see me? The only person you can change is yourself, and you have to acknowledge yourself, right? It's not something that is easy, you know. It take a lot of discipline and dedication. It's something that you have to put in practice, and every day is another day improving yourself, right? So the sun can return, right? And you can be saved, because that's what they're talking about, being saved. When the colostrum, when the Christos return back to the colostrum, your whole brain starts to light up, right? And dormant parts of your brain, right, become active again. This is the awakening. And I'm not saying I've reached there yet, but I've have moments where, like when I was very young, I feel like, this is what I was saying, like certain things feel like I've done it before, but it's deja vu. Really and truly, it's just taking notice of certain patterns, right? And certain events resonating with other events that I had already gone through. So this is how no you would say you get that deja vu feeling, right? Because your brain is big on pattern recognition, and it's like to compare, contrast information, and things will merge in if it's too close or too, if it's too relative to another situation, so event, so it might seem like you're triggering, like you're seen from another life, but you live in this life, right? You live in this life. Don't make no sense looking back, right? Whatever happened in the other life, that's what happened. You can't really be accountable for whatever happened in that life. You have this life, and you can make a change now with this life. And whatever you choose to do with your life now is on you, you know, it's on you. It's literally on you. There is people, I'm not saying like there is an evil people out here that will try to trespass you, try to tear you down, try to, that's the devil in them. They resonate with the evil frequency, right? The the elves. Elf stands for evil low frequency, right? So their thing is they're doing the devil's bidding, right? They're doing the devil's bidding, and the devil cater to them. The devil make them complacent by giving them comfort in the position they're in life. They're comfortable suffering. So like for people like us who are not vibrating on these levels, we'll never find comfort in being in our lower self, right? Because that's not what resonates with us. We won't really want the Christos to return, but what they're trying to trick us. So Christos is a man. He's gonna come out of the sky. He's gonna descend down the sky, right? When Christos is already within, right? You might even feel that flowered, right? You might, because they are totally cut off. The kingdom, they are not going to access the kingdom of God. Even if they even listen to this, my words, and even try to comprehend, they won't even comprehend because they're too far gone. So that's why it made no sense trying um debate and argue with people because you don't know people, right? Don't watch them actions, watch them intentions. Because the action are people will do a lot of good things for a certain outcome, right? Calculated moves, right? They'll do what seem on surface level good, but is to make a um negative outcome, right? They're manipulating certain frequencies for evil, right? They're manipulating certain frequencies for evil. So, you have to protect yourself from these people because they will cause you, they will shift your whole, they'll make your whole chakra out of line. And this is not basically what I'm trying to say when I say in alignment of chakra. It's like the programmings, the stuff that instill, they leave impressions and imprint on you. Where now, you might, some of these people, the devil might have them in positions where, they may be well off in society, right? They may be rich or something like that. They may be wealthy, but, they're not clean. Their heart is not clean, you know. So basically, what you're dealing with is a gatekeeper, right? They stay at the entrance of heaven uh, uh, because they can't get in. They're not gonna make anybody else get in, right? So they're like they're like Serbius. They're Serbius, three-headed dog, guard dog, Hades. You see me? But they're trying to make you think that they guard in hell, the gate to hell, but no, they're really trying to guard. It's not God announced them for do this. They just took up on themselves to do this. You see me? They make it their responsibility to do it, right? And you have to understand, for the Christos to return, you have to raise your energy. You see me? Is very complicated. It's very it's very complicated. It can get complicated and it can be very hard. It can be very hard because when say like you're surrounded by a lot of negative people, you're going to be like a hellish realm for you. Cause all these people in their lower self, right? They worship the devil, worship, right? Worship. You see me? The idolism. That's why God warned y'all in the Bible about taking up there with iconography, iconography, right? And idolism into images and you know people and stuff like that. Cause these things in the physical world is just distractions. You see me? Distractions, right? Because they make you feel like you're obligated to doing, committing to certain practices. And these what they call sin. Sin is just the unconscionable act of any individual, right? Which what they're doing is now sending themselves to hell by, when they commit murder and they they desensitize themselves to certain type of mentality. Mentality and spirit is the same thing. Right now, they've been possessed by a demon, and so now they're a demon in flesh suit, right? Because now they've taken on these patterns. They've taken on all these patterns now, right? And it's stored in the soul, right? It's stored in the electric, because your brain is not only not only your brain thinks, your spinal cord make decisions too. You see me? Same as your gastrointestinal system and your heart too, right? This is why people say the heart hurting them and stuff, like when the heart, like say if they're offended or insulted or they're grieving or suffering from some kind of traumatic event, they lost somebody that's dear to them, or they're being oppressed, you know, stuff like that can cause your heart to hurt you, you know, cause you now started to blame yourself, and start becoming angry with yourself, and you become this internal turmoil between the two, the yin and yang, the feminine and the masculine side, and they stop communicating. Where they communicate through is God, or God's seated in the thalamus, right? Your left and right hemisphere of your brain, which is your cerebrum, they communicate through the thalamus, right? So when they stop, they come in conflict, right? They start ignoring God, and becoming, they start thinking in the reptilian brain, right? They start become instinctive beings, right? Nothing wrong with instinct, but like animalistic in nature, in their own nature, they've developed an animalistic nature where people now, they're lazy to think, because there's so much conflict going on within them, right? And what they do, instead of acknowledging what's going on inside of them, they pretend like it's something outside of them. So they project. So, start feeling insecurities when, they think, say, it's other people making them miserable. When really and truly, when you leave them alone, they're still miserable. God, they always was miserable. Is you is the problem. It was never the person that make you start feeling insecure. It was always you, you know. Cause you lack love and you're incompassionate and he's a heathen, right? He's a heathen because you don't want to take heed of the word of God. God is constantly talking to you, literally. But they want us to believe God is somewhere outside ourselves, right? That's why in Hebrew 4, recall the tetrahedron. No. God, God's name is 4 letters in Hebrew. I, um, I am. That's all it is. I am. Using 2. 2 times 2 is 4. You see me? I am. So that you have to acknowledge his existence by first coming to know yourself. And it's a very powerful thing. You know, it's very powerful thing, as you can see, with how you wouldn't even imagine from, how I present myself and how I articulate. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff that I'm talking